What is going on, Hive? How is everybody doing on this Monday, June 16th, 2025? Sounds like the audio is coming in loud and clear. I have DevilsAdvocates backstage. He'll be up here in a couple of minutes, and I am looking forward to talking to him tonight. What is going on, man? How are you doing?
I'm good. I was terrified when you had somebody that said the family's in the room. I'm so not family friendly. But anyways, I will do my best.
That's all right. That's all right. They know what they signed up with. Usually, I feel like we're pretty good about it. Sometimes Sammy T gets a little bit fired up, but that's all right. What is new with you, man? How have you been doing?
I'm doing well. Actually, I've been making plans today for trying to figure out how I'm going to go to Boise and attend the trial. I've been working out with my wife, starting to do some pre-planning on that and figuring out what the logistics are and stuff. So I watched the hearing today, talking about the rules of order of the court and all that good stuff, and kind of getting a handle on how that's going to look. So did a lot of that. Watching again the video of the DoorDash thing and that whole monster. So I'm excited to get your thoughts. I can't wait to hear the isolated video or audio that you have, because I don't know about you, but I got really interested in what was going on in the background as well, with the cop and Jimmy talking about the meth and all that stuff in the truck. And I was like, I was so focused on the front conversation. I was like, man, I'm missing a major conversation in the back. Anyway, yeah. So I'm excited.
Yeah, so the enhanced audio is just of where she talks about Bryan Kohberger, because if I in the video, yeah, but I agree, there is definitely a lot going on in that video, which we will get into. That's pretty cool that you're going to go to the trial.
Yeah, I'm gonna give it my best shot. I have a pretty good plan started, so I think we're gonna pull that off.
Dude, that's awesome. That's badass. Yeah, so let's get into it. Before I do, those other two Hive Mind finds. So we were talking on our stream last night, Devil's Advocate, about how the creator Translucent not only got the body cam footage, but of the DoorDash driver being arrested.
Yeah.
She had also posted stuff about how Bryan was a subscriber to AMS, which is like a star-gazing meteor. Like I forget the exact acronym for AMS, but it's like where you pay a yearly fee to get updates on where these astral events are going to be happening. And there was the torrid meteor shower that night at 4:56 a.m. on November 13th, so now we started thinking, do you think Ann Taylor would just literally come out in one of the highest profile murder cases in recent history and say, my client was stargazing, without some sort of proof? And maybe they can prove the cell tower data. And I know Mama Todd is in here. She's a local out there. She says you lose service on that road. And you look at the narrative of Steve saying he turned his phone off. Well, it's like, did he, or did it just go out of service? And he can say all this stuff. Like, why would he leak that unless it's to continue to frame a certain narrative? So could you imagine if Bryan Kohberger has photos of this torrid meteor shower on his phone? And I just look at like how they've said, look at these photos on his phones. Look at this trophy picture. Look at this. It's like, well, wait till you see a picture that proves him completely innocent, because there's clearly enough of this event that went on. Here is what was captured that night. I mean, that's crazy, dude.
Right.
I'm not going to lie. If I saw that coming at me from that angle, I would have probably ducked and covered and been like, holy shit, this is the end. Doesn't that look like something's, you know what I mean? So like, if that's the case, do you think that would be enough evidence to prove it?
Wow. I mean, it's hard, we've all heard the whole, it was a cloudy night. So give me a break that he's out stargazing because it was a cloudy night kind of thing. But I mean, I don't know how the cloud coverage was around Portland versus around, Eastern Washington, Oregon, or in Idaho at that point. But yeah, super interesting find, because if there was a celestial and the timing, right, is perfect. I mean, the timing is perfect. Right. It's perfect. It's like, I would be out there doing that, kind of thing. And in fact, you got to remember, Kohberger made a kind of comment early on when they did the arrest, was like, well, they're going to know where I was at. I had my cell phone. They're going to be able to follow my cell phone. So it's clear he was aware that his cell phone would be tracked and didn't think it was a problem, which tells you something, because if he already knew that his cell phone was going to come into play here, why would you take it to a quadruple homicide scene? It makes no sense.
Well, exactly. And I think, Nick, also to your point about like the cloud conditions, it's like, yeah, something tells me you're going to see that through the clouds.
Right.
I mean, for God's sakes, look at how bright that is. And so, anyways, I find that very interesting. And then I think too, like the whole gas station footage of the Elantra, I literally thought to myself, okay, if I don't know anybody in town, okay, like we know the Dateline thing for whatever it's worth, like the people at that pool party who everyone just so happened to say he was the weirdest guy ever, right? Said that they saw him walking up the hill and they made it seem like, oh, he's following them, when really he doesn't know anybody and he could have been going to a higher vantage point for less light pollution to see the sky. But I started thinking about like the whole rumored gas station footage of his car on camera and all that.
Yep.
I thought about myself, if I don't know anybody in town and I liked to look at these type of events in the sky, who's to say I wouldn't stop at the gas station, get a Gatorade, get a bag of beef jerky and head out there.
Right. You're going to be there a while.
So anyways, now this next one, Devil's Advocate, have you seen this video yet?
Nope.
All right, chat. So this is one of Bryan Kohberger's friends. It's a 6-minute clip. I think the best approach for this is to just let it play because he gets pretty fired up. I don't know about his language, so I think it was Sandra who's watching this with her family in the living room. I don't know. So here's like a disclaimer for what it's worth. And Devil's Advocate, can you hear it or no?
Yes.
Okay.
We're here to talk about Idaho 4. I'm here in Poconos, Pennsylvania, where I live. Everything I say on here is my opinion. It has nothing to do with any other content creators' opinions. I don't know if their opinions are their own. I have to say that just so I don't get like in trouble. But there's a lot of gaslighters and a lot of killer channels out there that are making things up. And they don't even know the guy personally. That they're blaming all this on. Now, I do. And if you guys, if anyone out there, if these people knew this guy personally, Mr. Kohberger or Bryan, they would know there's no fucking way in hell that he did this. He's not physically or mentally capable of doing anything like this. That is total fucking bullshit. The kid doesn't have a violent bone in his body. He's very non-confrontational. Me, I'm confrontational. I'm an Aries. We're on April 14th. And it's obvious. But these guys out here like Gray Hughes, Tony Bruschi, fucking Drunk Parrot or whatever the fuck his name is. The one victim's father, I'm not going to say his name, but we all know who I'm talking about. Now, these fucking morons are just pushing this fucking narrative, and I think a victim's father is almost being paid by the university to do this. I also think it's pretty funny how ever since the whole thing came out about the leak and Judge Hippler not being happy about it, he lawyered up right away. And we haven't heard any more bullshit from him since. He hasn't been out there on channels spouting his fucking bullshit. So I find that a little odd. And I wouldn't be surprised if it was him. And he went around and said this stuff like, if Bryan does get off, how did he word it? He's going to be dealt with. Like, yeah, right, you short little fat fucker. You ain't dealing with nothing. You don't do nothing. Especially with me here. You don't do nothing. There are channels out there that do have an open mind and try to bring factual information out. And they actually go through and they read the court documents. And they go down through and they watch the hearings that were publicized. And they kind of relay that out rather than just speculating or pushing a narrative like Dateline or Megyn Kelly, Skeletor, I made this little chart because if you notice, most of the dudes that are guilders, they all have kind of one thing in common, or two things really. They're short and they're fat. It's almost like they're upset and they want to put someone in a firing squad because they're mad about it. Well, you're probably saying, William, why are you body shaming? I'm not really. I'm just telling the truth. I'm spitting facts here. I'm over here in fact.
Okay, we need to get him on the stream. Okay, I'm putting out a request and a task to the Hive, and I will also complete this task. We need to go onto this video or find his profile and get in contact with him. I believe his name is William. Now, while myself or Devil's Advocate or Phoenix is not included on the list of people who are quote unquote the open-minded or whatever, I mean, obviously this stream is newer to YouTube. It's just a month and some change old. However, I'm glad that I am not on the short and fat list. So I will say that is more of a positive. So yeah, Phoenix Talks just put his username up there. Anyways, we'll see if he'd be open to it. I think we got probably the most open-minded chat in the game. Wouldn't you agree, Devil's Advocate?
Yeah. We got some great people. That's for sure. We
got to get him on here with Sammy T and let those two just riff. That'd be incredible. So anyways, I'll let this keep playing.
Actual information, if you can see this. And if I missed any channels, I do apologize. Because there are some really good ones out there and people that I think are doing a good job with their content. And over here in the fat and unimportant section, we got the usual suspects over here.
This guy's killing me.
These fuckers putting out content. Some of these channels like Tony here. Tony's fat ass puts out a fucking new video like every 4 hours. He also puts them out on the Karen Reed thing, saying she's guilty nonstop. Like he kind of alternates in between Karen Reed and Bryan Kohberger. That guy is a fucking moron, and I don't know, he probably has a couple followers. But people who embed in this and believe the guilters, they embed in the first information they hear. And it's usually people that don't have as much common sense as some of us.
Facts.
And it's very difficult to convince them of the truth, even if actual factual evidence, you just really can't convince them because their mind is made up like that. It's like a cognitive bias is what it is. But take the facts from someone that actually knows. And I was also a U.S. Marine for 4 years when I was in Afghanistan. And I did on my tour in combat in 2005 there. I know a few things about K-bars and bayonets, and I know that I wouldn't be able to go into a place and unalive 4 adults like that and not have my DNA everywhere. And
okay, that's pretty powerful. He's a combat Marine from 2005, and he's saying he knows a thing or two about K-bars, and he wouldn't be able to do that.
Yeah.
Wow. And this is your first time watching this, Devil's Advocate? There's a couple.
It is. Yeah, very cool stuff.
All right.
Not suffer a black eye or like gouges from them scratching because, they fought for their life. They just didn't lay there and say, oh, kill me. I'm just going to lay here and let you do it. Plus, with their DNA all over me, my car, my fucking apartment, it's impossible for that to happen. But like I said in the beginning, it's impossible that Bryan Kohberger did this. The kid is no killer, plain and simple. And people need to wake the fuck up and realize what's going on here. Stop following the fucking guilders. All they're doing is rotting your brain. Like me or hate me, I never said truth was going to be simple. But I'm just telling you what I know. Whether through experience or from actually knowing people personally. And it's about time someone came out and said this.
So there is another video as well that he has out that I have, and this one's a little bit shorter. Do you want to play this and then discuss Devil's Advocate? Okay.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Okay.
Good afternoon. I'm just going to talk more about Idaho 4 and Bryan, because there's a lot of people out there that talk that don't even know Bryan personally, and I kind of feel like if you don't know him personally, then you really shouldn't be making all these opinions and assumptions about this guy if you've never met him. That makes no sense to me. You know, people like Tony Bruschi, the fucking drunk parrot guy, Gray Hughes. Talk about three fucking fat douchebags, you know, that just, I don't know, they're mad at the world. They want to kill someone. They want to put this guy in front of the firing squad who they never met before in their life. They want to fucking kill this guy. Why? Because they're pissed because they can't get fucking laid? Or because they look the way they do? Fucking fat and out of shape? That's their own fucking fault.
Oh, man.
Bryan is fucking harmless. I mean, anyone that fucking would ever meet him, and, you know, and they would try to be told that he did his fucking crime, they would just bust out laughing. That fucking kid, he doesn't have a mean bone in his body. He's not like me. I'm fucking mean. And then this whole thing out with the DoorDash driver now saying that she saw, you know, reports coming out that she saw Bryan there. You know, let me tell you something. If you saw the body cam footage of that night, of that DoorDash driver, she was like a mess. She acted like she was high on meth. She was, as high as she was, is whenever you're at the stages of like paranoia and imagining things. And it's also a proven fact that law enforcement, they'll take people that are in trouble. I mean, they'll go right to the jail. And they'll cut deals with people to just make up shit to testify for them, to get out of jail or to get out of trouble. They do shit like that all the fucking time. Look at the Zach and Dylan Adams case over that Holly Bobo girl down there in Tennessee. What those TBI agents did. You know, they got a guy who was in jail and got him to lie. That's all coming out now. They're getting a new trial. Those boys you need to let them the fuck out. And those TBI agents ought to do 10 years in fucking prison and see how it feels. But we can't let this shit keep happening, you know, to people. And it happens around the country all the time. These fucking counties, judges, prosecutors, law enforcement, a lot of times these prosecutors and judges, and if you have a paid public, or not a paid, but a public defender, they already know what's going to happen to you before you even go there. They've already talked about it. It's a fucked up mess. Our whole justice system is. But I'll be damned if I'm going to stand by and let fucking Bill Thompson's fat ass, along with that fucking fat cow Ashley Jennings, you know, railroad fucking a friend of mine, a kid that I've known forever, who's fucking like the most harmless kid. I'll be damned if I'm going to let them railroad him into taking a fall for this shit. That's not going to happen. Not on my fucking watch. I stand up for my friends. I believe friendship is one of the most important things to me. Like, I'm an Aries. You know, I was born April 14th. I'm all about friendship, passion, love. That's like what drives me in life. But I stand up for my friends, and Bryan's not around right now to stand up for himself to these fucking guilders like Tony Bruschi or Drunk Fucking Parrot or Down Centric Talk Show, whatever you call them. So I'll fucking do it for him. You know, I have no issue with that. And if anyone would have a problem with it, 526 Furnace Road, Mill Hall, PA, 17751. It's not that hard to find. I don't call the fucking cops. I know, bitch. So that's the end.
So, all right, let's unpack that. And I want to talk about this comment right here by Fireball saying this is really dumb. A bear doesn't have to tell you it's a bear. This guy's a joke. Waste. Well, you know what I say to you, Fireball, is that if you were on the trial and on the hook for a firing squad and nobody has had your back, I would hope that you would want some of your friends to come out there and maybe have your back a little bit and for the first time in over 2 years, put a narrative out there that sheds something on your name that's not you're a loner, incel, serial killer, psychopath who doesn't get chicks, is the weirdest person ever, and then killed 4 people. So while I respect your opinion on a bear doesn't have to tell people it's a bear, okay, are there situations where a bear might have to do, kind of flex and show you that it's a bear? I mean, this guy's a combat veteran Marine who says he knows a thing or two about K-bars and that he couldn't even unalive these 4 people. The timeline makes no sense in the case. Bryan Kohberger hasn't gotten to defend his name one time. So I don't think that what this gentleman did is a waste. If anything, I think it's probably overdue. I think a lot of his friends and family were intimidated by the massive in sync narrative put around him, where it almost makes you feel like you can't speak out about it because now you're going to get looped up in it. So I actually will tip my hat to this guy right here for coming out and defending his friend. So his username looks to be William127. Again, Hive, if anybody gets in contact with him, I'd love to have him on the stream. But yeah, so Fireball, I see your point about a bear doesn't have to tell somebody he's a bear. However, I would hope somebody would do this for me, and I know that I would do that for somebody else. So, anyways.
Yeah, it's funny. I hope that people understand sarcasm, because I use sarcasm a lot, and not everybody gets sarcasm. And so I gotta wipe the enormous amount of sarcasm off of me that's sticking to me as I say, this guy can't be credible because I thought Kohberger didn't have any friends. Like I thought the whole narrative was that he couldn't have had an accomplice, whatever, because he has no friends whatsoever. So this obviously a guy that can't be right because Kohberger doesn't have any friends. And again, that's total sarcasm. I don't mean that, but it's just funny because again, if you're a guilter or you're a person who's decided already what's happened in this case, your narrative is Kohberger has no friends. He hates everybody. He's a loner, and then you got somebody sticking up for him, and it's like, oh, that can't be true.
Right. Well, I totally agree, and I think Jill also hit the nail on the head. You want to talk about a bear? Look at SG. Look at these other guys. So whether that was your point or not, like I said, I try to not put people on blast. I hope you can see how I kind of did both, where I see your point about the bear not telling people it's a bear. But I don't know. It's one of those things where it's like what this guy did. He's clearly, I think he probably got to the point where the last straw broke the camel's back, and he's like, "F it, I'm doing it." And also, here's my address, which is, I mean, that's crazy. So
right.
Anyways, yeah, I don't know. Like I said, devil's advocate, I would hope that if I was ever in that situation, somebody would do that for me. And I guess that's my point. That's my 2 cents on that. So
yeah.
No,
good
all right.
stuff.
So now here is the DoorDash driver. This is the clip where she talks about seeing Bryan Kohberger at the scene. I just made this audio about 20 minutes prior to the stream. So if you did happen to see it on my TikTok, but I got rid of all the white noise stuff. So let me get out of this and let me put the volume all the way up. And here we go.
My doctor, please, yes, they're all diagnosed. Okay. I have PTSD. I have depression. I have anxiety. My husband murdered in front of me. He shot 9 times. Our friend.
Where did that happen?
In Moscow.
In Moscow? When was that?
Before me.
Who was your husband?
Charles and Michael, you shot me. And then now I have to testify. So yeah, because I'm a DoorDash driver, so yeah.
You have to testify in which murder?
Murder case.
Oh.
I DoorDash driver myself. signature page. Thank you.
Okay. So you think it's all of those issues that make it look like you're under the influence of drugs?
What do you think about that? I'll let you go first.
The part that I remember really, really queuing in on was the way she said it, the way I remembered. I don't know if you have this still that you can get that clip up, but she says, "Yep, I'm the DoorDash driver. Yep, I was the DoorDash driver." And after she says, "I have to testify in a murder case," and she's like, "Which one?" And she says, "The one with the college kid." And she says, "Because I was the DoorDash driver." Yep, I was the DoorDash driver. Yep, she's said it 3 times, and then she says, "It's I saw Bryan.
Mm-hmm.
It's really mixed up." And that was like, "What do you mean? What's really mixed up?" She's like, "It's really mixed up." And I was like, the whole thing sounded weird with the whole, "Yep, I'm the DoorDash driver. Yep, I saw Bryan. It's really mixed up." And I was like, what the hell? Like, that's the part I was really kind of focusing in on, those particular moments, was that whole, the way she had to keep telling us that she was the DoorDash driver, and she may be the DoorDash driver. But, and then I wondered to myself, at what point, I mean, I realized this was September, right? This arrest here. At what point I think she made the comment, "And now I have to testify in this case." Is she saying "and now" because it's coming up, or did she recently get approached about testifying in this case? That was my other curiosity, is when did she get approached to have to testify in this case?
All right. So, you know how I asked you that one time? I said, what's the craziest shit that you believe in? And I think you said something like, "We're all the same consciousness."
Right,
We
right.
kind of have different. We just got different meat wagons as our vehicle to it. Okay,
Yeah.
So this is like Operation Dreamscape, where essentially the government is infiltrating your dreams, and it's one of those things. Like, okay, we all know they look through our emails, they look through our calls, they could track whatever. Is like remote viewing in dreams something that they could do? Okay, well, we know that MK Ultra is real. We know mind control research real. Netflix might play a role along with other mainstream media sources as like psyop tools to get the narrative to convince people to have them all thinking the same way. But don't forget MK Ultra, although declassified, do you think they stopped progressing it? Is my question to you.
Oh, no.
Okay. There's a new frontier called MK REM, literally for REM sleep. And it's pretty much that the pixel pulses are able to manipulate what our subconscious dreams about while we go into REM sleep. Now, I've talked about this before, where there is a massive amount of people who talk about having the same dreams. How is that possible? Is it because we're all consuming the same content? Right? I mean,
Right.
There could be something there. I wouldn't put it past it that there's studies on this shit. Devil's Advocate, as always, man, thank you for joining the stream. You guys, if you don't subscribe to Devil's Advocate, it is Devil's Advocate. What is the handle? Is it 24?
2024. Yeah. I can type it into the thing. Thank you so much for giving me a chance to plug my show here, but Devil's Advocates 2024.
Yep. I will pop that up on the screen right now. So that is your YouTube. It is also the same, I believe, on TikTok.
I think that's Devil's Advocates _1 on TikTok, although I haven't been as heavy. In fact, I got to record new videos for TikTok this week. So thanks for reminding me I have shit to do.
Yeah. And I know the Hive always enjoys having you on. I enjoy having you on. Quick update for everybody. I had to move Sammy T Mafia up to tomorrow. So she will be on the stream tomorrow. I'm super excited for what she has to talk about, not only just pertaining to this case, but just also like I learned a lot about Sammy T and her background in, a previous life prior to the paralegal stuff. And dude, I mean, she had a wildly successful podcast on Patreon where they reached the max amount of subscribers you could get to. So anyways, she has some people connected that hopefully down the road will be able to be on the stream. And with that being said, Devil's Advocate, we will be on again next Monday at 7 p.m. Central. You should join our Discord, Devil's Advocates.
It's funny you mentioned that. I saw that you advertised it down below. I will join that if I can remember to do it as soon as I get off there. Somebody said I should post my email address. So except for Gmail is mistyped, but hell. Anyways, but yes, I'll get on your Discord channel as well. So see if I can hang out over there. So thank you very much.
Yeah, absolutely. And Hive, with that, as always, shout out to you all for tuning in. This is the best chat on all of YouTube and previously.
Hey, Birdie.
TikTok. Yeah.
Check out my new hat I just got from Cafe Press. I had my logo put on a hat.
Dude, that's dope. I love
my
that.
wife just brought it in. Hey, you just got your hat in the mail. I was going to see how it looked on a hat. So
it looks sick. I love it.
That's
love
cool.
it, man. Yo, it's awesome. And dude, no, I'm already super excited for next Monday. We will talk obviously prior to that stream, but yeah, Hive, you guys rock. Shout out to my mods, Devil's Advocate. Shout out to you. And I hope you all enjoyed the stream. I hope everybody has a great rest of their Monday night. Get a good night rest for Tuesday, and I will be back on here at 7 p.m. Central.
Thanks, Birdie, man. Your show's amazing. Thank you so much.
Appreciate it. Cheers, everybody.
Birds flying high, you know how I feel. Sun in the sky, you know how I feel. Breeze drifting on by, you know how I feel. It's a new dawn, it's a new day, it's a new life.